What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Zamboni. I am an astrologer and musician, and it is time to talk about the astrology of the week ahead. As always, I thank y'all so very much for being here. Thank you for watching this video to the end, or for sending it to a friend, or for checking out the videos and I have on YouTube, or for checking out the dailies throughout the week, or for hitting up my Venmo, Cash App, PayPal. That's super helpful to me. For hitting up the Patreon, that is also super helpful to me. The patrons get access to the videos and other content early. I've mentioned for a few weeks running now that there's some new music coming out pretty soon. That is true. It's been a really rough time with the retrogrades and all this. It's been really difficult to get everything out. Now I am shooting for the election that we talked about in the Q1, Q4, whichever, the last forecast, the wintertime forecast I did with Palace and Cameron on the 22nd of February. So we're really shooting at that one now. I think it's gonna work. We got the master back and we're working on the video and some of the other stuff now. But thank you so much for being here. Let's talk about the astrology of the week ahead. So this week, it's not a super like action-packed week. Although there are a couple of things that are happening here. So the first thing that I want to talk about is Mercury is going to finish up being in its shadow. So I mentioned a second ago that the music production process has been really majorly delayed. I made some music back in, I don't know, that was probably like October or something like that. And then it's been all post-production since then, right? And there's been one thing after the next that has just gone wrong. And so throughout that Mars retrograde, which was in Gemini, and Mars continues to be in Gemini. Mars is just in Gemini all week this week, and for the rest of time, it feels like, through March. You know what I mean? Through the end of March, Mars will continue to be in Gemini. And so there's this back and forth, and mostly it was back through that time and just like not being able to do stuff. And then when I thought it was gonna work, then Mercury was retrograde in Capricorn and more stuff happened, right? And so this week, Mercury is gonna move forward through Capricorn and actually make it into Aquarius. By the time we get to next week, then Mercury will have moved into Aquarius. So this is interesting because Mercury is going to be hanging out with Pluto all week. It's just big Mercury, Pluto, for everything that is under the sphere of influence of Mercury. So that's going to be any of the communications, that's going to be any kind of commerce, that's going to be any sort of tricks or competitive games or any of that stuff. Also anything Mars is involved in, because Mars is in Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury. Then we're going to be seeing Pluto stuff come up. So listen, if you have top secret classified documents at the crib, move them, put them somewhere else, put them back where they go or something. I don't know what is going on out here, but so with Pluto, a lot of times you get like underground things, you get hidden things, you get, so with Pluto, a lot of times it'll be like buried treasure or something like that, right? With Mercury coming to conjoin that Pluto, there'll be the exposure of that buried treasure or something like this, right? So like, again, so beware of the hidden things coming out. If you want things to stay hidden, then, this is a better hiding place this week would probably be in plain sight, rather than trying to actually put things underneath and trying to like keep them well hidden, because that stuff is gonna, like, somebody's gonna like kick it over on accident and then it'll be like, oh, what's this? And then find your top secret documents or whatever it is that you are trying to hide in your crib or wherever it is that you're hiding. I don't need to know about it. I don't want to know. But if you're hiding something, put it in plain sight with a little hat on it so that people don't, like, it's going to be very easy for secrets to come out this week. So be aware of that. Be aware of the power dynamics. With Mercury, Pluto, there's going to be you could speak truth to power, for example. That's a thing that you could do. Or you could speak to what's really going on in your heart if you're in relational kind of things. And if we're thinking about relationships, then we can talk about Venus in Pisces is going to make a sextile to Uranus in Taurus this week as well. I like that aspect a lot. Venus rules that Uranus and Taurus, and so Venus is in charge. Venus is sort of like able to, and not only that, but earlier in zodiacal order and making a sextile, which is the aspect that Venus is associated with. That, this puts Venus in a really good position relative to Uranus. So Uranus and Taurus, I've been talking about necessity is the mother of invention. I've been talking about innovation and thinking outside the box and all that sort of stuff, especially when it comes to the Taurus things. We could think about arts. We could think about food, shelter, hugs, bodies of all sorts, cows, that sort of thing. The price of beef continues to show up. But like not only beef, but the price of, foodstuffs and prices in general. What the hell is going on with these prices, or value, right? Uranus and Taurus has largely been associated with cryptocurrency this time around and this kind of thing, right? So Venus in Pisces looks great. Looks like she really wants to bring joy and splendid, delicious pleasure and doesn't it feel so good and all this kind of thing, right? So Venus in Pisces making this aspect to Uranus and Taurus looks like it really wants to help. It looks like, it wants to take the Uranus thing and be like, oh, this is kind of fun. Like things are going up and down and kind of, like there's all type of surprises but like sometimes the surprise is a birthday party or something like that. It's a cake. There's cake involved. You know what I mean? Like this kind of thing is fun a lot of times. And so I do like to see this. This is a really good time to innovate from a creative place, like if you're going to do some art, if you're going to, for music, this is really, really good for music, for, maybe experimental music or trying something new, or maybe if you're not a maker of art or maker of music, then maybe like listening outside of what you normally would do. It's very easy to sort of get stuck in a rut, especially with algorithmic like with the algorithms sort of like pushing things at you, being like, oh, you really like this. Don't you want to listen to this again? And a lot of times, yes, is the answer to that question. You're like, let me hit that joint and get it and be like, oh, this is my jam, right? But you might find a new jam this week. So don't be afraid to listen outside of your normal, your regularly scheduled routine, because this looks like fun. It looks like surprises. Speaking of Uranus and surprises, I did forget to mention that today is the full moon. We've got the full moon in Leo today, which is square to that Uranus and Taurus. That is the moon in Leo opposite to the sun in Aquarius, right? Sun in Aquarius is hanging out with Saturn. Saturn is under the beams of the sun at this point. So we're at that point where you remember a month and a half ago, I was like, everything is ruled by Saturn. Everything is still ruled by Saturn. That is just ongoing. But this is that moment where Saturn is waning in influence. Saturn is unable to shine at all in the sky anymore. You won't be able to see Saturn if you look in the sky, because it's under the beams of the sun. And so it's getting kind of consumed. Whenever you can't see a planet like that, then it's like there's static in the signal. You know what I mean? It's like you can't quite see what's going on with this planet and what's really trying to happen here, which is kind of nice from a Saturn perspective if we're thinking about how very strong and iron-fisted that Saturn has been for the past 5 years or so. But so with this full moon here, we're definitely looking at big surprises. We're looking at disruptions. Last night, there was a bunch of like frat boys outside my house, like banging on shit and like pretending they were werewolves. It was, I could not have predicted that. You know what I mean? Like loud, surprising, raucous, very annoying, extremely annoying. But if we know that the full moon in Leo is taking place and that this sort of thing is happening here, then maybe we can remember that and roll with it. Maybe make some good art about it. You know what I mean? Maybe there is, definitely there are funny jokes to be had. There are always funny jokes to be had, especially with Uranus. One of the things about a joke is that it turns at the end. It's like you expect it to go the one way and then it turns and you get a different outcome than you expected. That's really great for hilarity, and Uranus is trying to serve that up to you all week. So give that a shot, see how it goes, especially if you can talk about the hidden things that you're not supposed to talk about with Mercury and Pluto together. Thank you so much for being here. I'm out of time again. If you want to check out all the stuff at zambonifunk.com, I would super appreciate it. Love y'all. Appreciate